Again, Gregg Bell, the News Tribune here at Lumen Field in Seattle. Well, this is what the Seahawks look like against a real NFC playoff Super Bowl contender compared to the middling teams, the Jets, the Cardinals, which they'd build the 4-game winning streak. Let's get right to Geno Smith. After the game, Mike McDonald said the quarterback has a knee injury that they're going to get more imaging tests on. In the stadium, they have x-ray machines, but beyond that and some mobility tests that the doc can do, that's about all the extent of an eval in the stadium. So they'd have to go get MRIs offsite at another facility. Then they'll know whether there's some structural damage. They don't think there is any. But McDonald said he's not yet ready to say yet if Smith would be able to start against the Minnesota Vikings here in 7 days. And that means Sam Howell at least enters the equation as a possible quarterback of this playoff stretch. 4 for 12, 4 for 14, 24 yards passing tonight. 2 sacks in 1 drive in the 3-play stretch. He looked like a quarterback who doesn't take many first-team reps. I talked to Tyler Lockett after the game about that, and he says, in fact, Howell does get some rapport and reps with the first-team receivers when in practice Smith will throw the play to one of the receivers that Howell is standing next to him throwing to, say, Smith and Jigba when Smith throws to Lockett or throws to Metcalf. But suffice to say that the backup quarterback doesn't take the reps. He doesn't take the snaps he doesn't execute the game plan day to day in practices. And you saw tonight what happens when he comes in cold against the 10-4 defense. It looks as ugly as that. That is some of what we saw during training camp, quite honestly. And when everyone would ask, why isn't Sam Howell more of a factor? Well, that is why. The inaccuracy, the hesitancy, the decision-making, sometimes holding on to the ball, that's what we saw in training camp. Would a full week of practice with the ones change that? They would hope it wouldn't be worse. But is that the guy to get the Seahawks into the playoffs? I don't think Sam Howell answered that question tonight with a yes. It's Geno Smith's knee is going to be the story between now and the Minnesota game. The Packers John Mann and I were talking in the press box, smacked them in the mouth. It was more like a frying pan upside the side of the head. The first quarter, it was 10 first downs to 1, 18 offensive plays to 4, 148 yards to 12. That's what the totals were when it was only 14-0. The Seahawks really were lucky to be only down 14-0. After the game, Mike McDonald, the coach, said that we got out-coached. He thought the Packers' plan exploited everything the Seahawks are weak at, especially defensively, running Josh Jacobs straight downhill at him. Ernest Jones, the middle linebacker for the Seahawks, said the Packers ran different motion sets out of different formations that they hadn't prepared for, and it took a drive or two for the Seahawks to make the adjustments to that new motion and the new alignments. They weren't prepared is what McDonald said, and I pressed him a little bit about that, and he stopped himself, but he said, it's not like I'm going to come in here and say the guys screwed, and then he stopped his sentence. He said he's going to come in and say they were out-coached and the coaches need to be better. Left unsaid was the players have to be better. And he said that as well, that the execution has to be better. Fact is, tonight, folks, we saw the difference between the Seahawks and the upper echelon of the NFC. And another member of the upper echelon of the NFC comes in here in 7 days for the Vikings. Then the Seahawks go to Chicago, and then they finish with the Rams. And right now they're in a dead heat with LA at 8-6, but the Rams technically had the division lead by virtue of winning up here in Lumen Field in October, early November. If the Seahawks can stay even with or a game up of LA by the finale, that'll be for the division title. If they're a game back, could still be for the division title depending on tiebreakers within the NFC, common opponents. A lot harder road to hoe, and the Seahawks have just lost themselves the little bit of wiggle room that they had in the division race. But now on to Minnesota with a quarterback problem and a team that the Vikings are going to watch the game film from tonight and send their running game straight downhill at the Seahawks, and the Seahawks have 6 days to fix that. Timmy has a knee injury, also unknown severity, that they need more medical tests and imaging done. You saw Jalen Sundell was the new center. He's an undrafted rookie from FCS North Dakota State. He was right next to Satal Lamea, the right guard, who got beaten a couple times soundly by the defensive line for the Packers. 5 sacks in all for Green Bay, 10 quarterback hits. And now the Vikings, one of the NFL's best defenses, even better than Green Bay's, comes in here. We talked about how it'd be tough to win these 2 home games, Green Bay, Minnesota, back-to-back, and a split would be a coup. After losing their starting quarterback to a knee injury and getting beaten 30-13, Yeah, beating Minnesota would be a coup. All my coverage at thenewstribune.com, on Twitter X at GBellSeattle. As always, thanks for watching and take care.